I want to talk about the my own personal benefits and reasons that I discovered over these last 30 days of doing YouTube personally. Because at first I was not really open to the idea because it seems like it's one more social media platform over another. But I began to realize that there was something in YouTube that represents something I experienced in my journey as a missionary and a business leader and all that. And I came to understand this concept, and maybe you can relate to it. And the idea come from the concept that if you want a certain to excel in a certain industry or a certain business realm, in my case with the missionary agency, I was looking for a mentor or a leader who has a broad scope of the whole earth. And on top of that, he believes that he can do something that will change the way things are perceived. So I figured that the first thing I need to do is to find someone like that and connect in some ways. And in the concept that I understand in my missionary terms is you find a mentor or a leader like that, and then you discover and find out how you can best serve him. And then give yourself and all of your gifts and abilities to make sure that his vision and his concepts are being utilized and you come alongside them and help. That's what I did. And I found this gentleman. I don't have his permission to give you his name, but he was the founder and organization of a global movement in missionary work. And I decided that that was what I was going to do. So I moved from the Samoan Islands where I was serving, and I brought with me the team that I started doing programs in a church with from the islands of Samoa to Hawaii to help to my goal at that time was to come alongside him, and whatever he wants to do, I will volunteer not only my own service but volunteer the capacity of my group to support his vision. It was very interesting because I discovered something else that come with that, and that is the more you serve someone with that kind of perspective, that kind of anointing and gifting, there's a chance that his aura or his understanding can pass on to you. But it doesn't pass on to you in just this and this and this. It's an overall, because I began to realize something else in my own journey, that I was beginning to see the world from a different perspective. Every time something happened to me, I began to think of what my friend, my mentor, would think, what he would say, and how he would do something to make a difference in that. I have seen him done this in so many areas. We were working with an organization that was purchasing land, and the organization was not well funded to the point where there's extra money set aside for monthly payments and things like that. So he would travel around the world and talk to business leaders, sharing his vision, and his vision became the funnel in which finances was coming for the work that we were doing in the islands. And that became a pattern. I watched him and saw him, and I decided I want that kind of work. And I've also sat in meetings where he would be leading, and all the leaders would come with their issues and problems. And everybody would have a chance to talk about their issues and what's going on. And then when it came to him, he was always looking beyond. And so that was something that I inherited when he moved from Hawaii to Europe. I decided I need to seek the Lord if I were to move to Europe, because everything that he was doing in the Hawaiian Islands, I was there with him. I told him that if I can do it, if I can do something to make a difference and to lift the load off of you, I would be very happy to do. And I've done that. I've seen doors open, because one time he had a vision of taking the Bible and translate it into 27 different languages that are spoken in Hawaii. And he needed some kind of help with promoting the idea with different churches in all the islands of Hawaii. So I decided I was just going to bring my group along, and I told him, I said, what do you want to do? So he told me what he wanted to do. So I went to Aloha Airlines, the airlines that was flying between the Hawaiian Islands, and asked their leadership and their management if they can allow us to fly free from one island to another to provide concerts for the purpose of raising up funds to make the vision that this gentleman had come true, and which we did. And it culminated in a wonderful experience of when the time came for us to distribute these different Bibles with different languages. We had the University of Hawaii in Manoa helped us with the demographics and where these different languages were spoken, pockets in the Hawaiian Islands, and we were able to distribute Bibles accordingly. Excuse me. And then other times it would be something else. When he had a vision of building a university in the South Pacific island of Tonga, he needed someone to help him with that vision. And the idea was to sell the vision to some of the island leaders who were skeptical about it. And so I said to him, we will be there. We will be there with you. And it was the joy for me to just come alongside my mentor and help him make his vision easier to accomplish. It was amazing stuff. And then which in the University of Tonga, I flew to Australia, met with our leaders there, and asked them if they can help us out in the island of Tonga. And my friends there in Australia sent a team that worked day and night in putting the campus there in Tonga. The King of Tonga gave us 50 acres right near the airport. But it was raw land. We had to build from ground level up. And so I called a friend in Hawaii who was a contractor and asked him if he can come down for maybe 2 weeks or a month. And he flew down. So that's what I meant when I said, you find somebody with a vision bigger than yours, and it's in the area or the arena that you're interested in, and go and serve that person. Come underneath him and lift his shoulder, lift his hands up, so that you can be there all the time. And the reward of that is that there's this amazing transaction that takes place that is more than just knowledge passed on, but in some ways it's that sense that you are connected to his vision. This gentleman was global. He travels. I don't know if anybody that I have met in my life who has traveled to more countries in the world than this gentleman. I call it the Marco Polo Club, because he has traveled to over 200 and plus nations of the earth. I was with him in one of his trips that he talked to me about, that he had a vision of going to a small little island called Pitcairn, which is where the mutiny on the Bounty story came from. And he said he wanted to go there. So I said, I'll go with you. I'll go with you. And So I went. We the day came and we flew to Tahiti. Then we went up to some small islands where we were meeting the boat or the ship that was going to take us into Pitcairn Island. And it's about a 2 or 3 day sail between the islands of Tahiti and Pitcairn Island. And it was one of those moments when you wake up and you look out on the horizon and see this rock. It's like a big rock out there in the ocean, and that was Pitcairn. So we did a lot of work there, but for me, it was my life was beginning to associate with other aspect that I would have never been connected to, never would have had the opportunity to go there too. And I was very, very grateful. But I also feel like I was not just a burden on his side. I was there to make sure that whatever he wants and whatever he wants to do, I would ask him, how can I help you? What can I do for you? And that went on for many, many years. It's a principle that if you want a certain aura to come upon your life, you can't just do it on your own. You need to find someone who's already there in the journey and then come alongside and help them make their dream come true. And maybe it will take 2, 5, 10 years. But what is that in terms of what you gain from doing that? So that was what an understanding that I had. And when I started looking into YouTube, because I was thinking, YouTube is another social platform. Excuse me. And I don't know if I like videos, but I began to think of my relationship with that gentleman and my mentor, and I'm so forever grateful for the moments and the years and seasons that I served with him and alongside him to make his dream come true. Find somebody that you want to, what you're looking to do, there's someone who's already been there and beyond. And it's imperative that you find a way that you can come alongside him, maybe not just physically, but from the distance you can also come alongside their vision, their goals, and offer to help make some of those dreams come to pass. I had a lot of people in the organization that I was working with came to me and they said, what is it with you that everything that you're doing, we were told by our mentor, this gentleman, that you should not do it, but you're doing it. And I said, I don't know, because my goal is to help him. And whatever I can offer to do to help him lighten the load, that's what I will do. And I've done that for many, maybe 5 to 10 years. He traveled to Kenya and he asked me if I can come to help a little bit with the leadership school that they were running in Kenya. And I went there, spent a month in Kenya just to be there. And the same thing when him and his wife were doing a school in Chile, they asked me if I can come for, maybe a week or 2 weeks, and I pay my own way to go there and spend time doing whatever he wants to do, support, all that. I have been blessed by doing that, and I have had moments where I'm very grateful because it not only made me rich in terms of experience, but I felt honored to be at his side, working alongside, making his dream come true. And so I've had, when it was time for me to start my own organization, I've had people who did that to me like I was doing for him. And it's just a wonderful thing. But now that I'm settled in Utah and it's history of what I did. But then I thought, YouTube, what should I think about YouTube? And I remember what I have learned from my mentor, and that is even though he did not have an experience of what I was doing, neither was he capable of doing what I was pioneering along the side while I was helping him. There was a bond and a strength of friendship, a strength of vision and scope. It's easy for me to think of the world when I remember him. And not only thinking of the world, but think of ways that can be beneficial to someone else. So my experience with YouTube was when I saw that there was something there that I like, I decided I was just going to take a second look at it, and I took 3 months of 2025 towards the end of 2025 to review, research, dig into, hear the stories, and decide if this was something that I can adjust to. So this is my first 30 days of doing YouTube, and and my reason for doing this was because I saw a global reach. And I'm reminded of what my mentor deposited into my life, that I don't just think of what I can do locally or do something just in a regional area, but what appealed to me with YouTube was the fact that it is a global platform that has done their research and their work on adjusting and reviewing, and then they were, to me, it was a proven platform whereby I can tell my story, and I have a ton of story, but I realized, man, this is a window into the future. And then I heard the CEO of YouTube talk in an interview, and he said YouTube is a platform that give you the chance to be you. And the chance to be you in my case was, wow, I don't have to be like my mentor. I don't have to be like other people that I admire and look up to. This is my chance to be me, because when I experienced the different breakthroughs in my journey alongside my mentor, they were my story. And I realized that this is an incredible opportunity. So what I learned is I can I can adjust. I can make some little adjustment here, little adjustment there. And I realized that there's a lot of things that even in my Christian training, my missionary training, where most of the time when I'm asked to speak, I'm asked to speak and give solutions to problems. But I also realized that what YouTube is making available for me is, because of the nature of the platform, people who come and see what I'm saying and what I do on my YouTube channel are not looking for my mentor's presentation. He was an incredible, charismatic leader. He impacted the world more than many people would remember. But this is my chance to eliminate in some ways, I'm eliminating some of the solutions that I'm giving. And that's why I'm doing this to you, to talk to you about how it has made a difference for me and why I am so committed to this, and I'll talk a little bit more about that and what it entails for me. But the thing that I saw that made me jump into the opportunity of doing YouTube was the fact that YouTube was saying, we are a global platform, and if you decide to come on board, we don't want you to be like anybody else. We just want you to be you. You have stories of victories, you have stories of setbacks, and you also have known the path on what it took for you to go from nobody to overcome fear, doubts, and a sense of insecurity. All of those are real, and people are looking for someone they can relate and identify with in their journey. And I thought, man, this is amazing. So I have talked to my friends that have come to mind when I began to finish the first month, and I was producing somewhere between 3 videos a day. And my goal in January when I started this was I was just going to do 3 to 5 videos a week. And I figured if I do 3 videos a week, that's 12 videos a week times 4 weeks a month, that's 48 videos. And I thought, if I can do this, let me see if I can take a day at a time and see for the first week how well I'm doing. And I have been surprised. I have been absolutely surprised, because one of the things that I found and discovered in the first month that I came to doing YouTube was, number one, I'm beginning to see myself more clearly. And I'm also beginning to see some of the deficit in my communication skill set. Because most of the time I'm giving solutions and giving answers rather than go back and find out how I got to the solution. And so instead of talking too much about the solution, I can talk about what it took, what I overcame in my own limitation at that time. And then the story become relevant, and that I have enjoyed doing that. And even if you look at some of my videos, I have been doing a lot of wonderful things around the world and around where I came from, and some of the things that I did that were far out and far away from reality when I started. But as I'm looking at YouTube and discovering that this is where I can be a good storyteller, and a good storyteller is not someone who just give right answers. A good storyteller is someone who can talk about the limitation, the fears, the insecurities, and the emotion of having to overcome. And most of the time, this is what was missing in my own speaking engagement as a Christian, because I was more involved in speaking to churches. And most of the time, I'm problem solving. But I'm not problem solving on the back end. I'm problem solving after I went through. So I missed that part that makes the story relevant and the story alive. So that was one of the things that I found in YouTube and makes me really, really have a passion about it. Now, I also know that sometimes, I'm not speaking to you because I'm successful with YouTube. Right now, after a month, I was doing 50 videos, and I'm just getting started. Just getting started. And so I want to use this time and this channel to be where you can come and see my journey in some of the things that I have already produced, like starting a whole mission movement out of the Pacific Islands with Christianity. I've also shown on a video on one of my videos in my library of when I started this movement of bringing the dance and the music and the colors of the cultures into the church, because the church at that time was dead. you know, that you go to any church in the Pacific, and you might as well be in a church in Europe or America, because the setting of the church was set up with an established idea of what the church looked like. And so the church was never given a chance to allow the creativity of the people to form what would later on be a place of celebration and a place of learning and a place of overcoming, so that they can have a, a, a process to pass on to the younger generation, so that they can also relate and have an idea of how they can get into a place of solutions. I made a big jump in my Christian walk, because I was I was one of those people that believe in, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. And I told some of my staff that I don't want to hear your problem, I just want to hear your solutions, which is a very good idea. But the problem is, most of them have a hard time overcoming the fear of being rejected by me as their leader. And I was telling them to bring their solution, and they don't have a solution. They will repeat back to me what they think I want to hear them say, but it was never really from their heart. And that's what I'm learning in doing videos with YouTube, a new element added to my own understanding of my Christian walk. I'm reading the Bible from a new perspective of, because in the Bible, it's God who knows everything. But it's also a God who created everything and created us in his image. He knows some of the challenges emotionally, some of the challenge of fear that we go through. And because he knows it, he gives us an answer, but he wants us to find it. And so he used us to be the voices in which we can relate his answers in scriptures to the people who are inferior, afraid, failed, and have no idea of how to overcome, to jump to that side. So I've been talking to some of my friends outside of YouTube, and I told them these reasons why I am really passionate about YouTube. And this is going to be my commitment for the next year and the next 5 years, as long as I live, because I am a 73-year-old living in Utah with a double amputee. So I am handicapped. That's why you see some of the same background over and over and over again, because I sit on the wheelchair and look at the camera and talk. And when my my new leg come in about 3 weeks, I will be able to stand up. Maybe I will move around and take you with me wherever I go. But in the meantime, I'm taking advantage of the opportunity to speak and to share with you some of these amazing, it's like amazing wisdom that I need to revisit some of the, remember when it was so far away, the truth was so far away from where I was. And I was afraid. I didn't want anybody to hear about my fear, because I want them to know that I'm strong. And that became a pattern that has been a pattern for me to disciple. And for even my children, I want them to be strong, and I want them to be this. There's nothing wrong with being strong, but there is something else about empathy and letting your own fear. I have, as a father to my children, I had fear of not knowing how to be a good father to them. And that was my greatest fear when my children are young and they were growing up. I thought, how can I father these kids? And I have never been fathered myself. Well, the only type of fatherhood that I understood was my mentor. And my mentor was a strong man. And I was mentored in that same capacity to give right answers. I was able to say to him, this is what I can do, this is what I can do. But I never was able to tell him, I'm afraid that if I do this, it might mean that I might lose some of the people that follow me. And also when I when I said to him, I'll be there for you, I remember the trip to Pitcairn. You know, that was a lot of money. A flight to Tahiti and take the boat to go to Pitcairn Islands. And, the whole trip was about a $5,000 trip. And so I said to him, I will go with you. But what he did not know is I was afraid internally, inside, I was afraid. I may not even come up with the money. Where would I get the money from? But I happened to be in the process of my wife, my ex and I were selling a home during that summer. And it just happened 3 weeks before the trip. My home closed and I had the money in my hand. So I was able to pay the trip. So the answers was always there. But in the beginning, when I was making the commitment, and sometimes the commitment is sticking together, it's cemented because you overcome it internally, the fears and the doubts, and then you step out and you say with your mouth a dedication and a commitment, so it sticks. The commitment was given and taken, but I was still having to deal with the fear of where is the money going to come from. But those are some of the things that I have discovered in doing YouTube. I am like a new student again, just learning how to relate, how to overcome in spite of my fear. And the answers will be there, yet I needed to tell people who can relate to my stories that the fears that they feel, the doubts that they have, are the same things that I dealt with, I'm dealing with. Sometimes I'm a lot better because it took some time to practice it and experience it. So sometimes you forget to mention that in your discussion with people because you're wanting to be strong in giving answers. But in reality, there's still an element of doubt and an element of fear and an element of worries that is always associated with doing new things. So that's what came to me when I was thinking about this in YouTube, and I'm saying, this will change me. It will ultimately change me and my own, it changed the patterns of how I used to look to solutions and answers. They will be the same answers, same solutions, but the difference is how to approach it with doubts and fear. And so I was talking to my friends and say, how many stories do you have in your life that you would really like to talk about, but you don't want to come across like you're bragging, but you want the stories to be told, including some of the emotional struggles that you went through, and yet look at what happened afterward. To me, that is worth gold with YouTube. So I'm committed to this process because it will not only make me as a 73-year-old man who thinks he has all the answers to life and Christian walk, to a place of relating to the truth from the standpoint of being a human. So this is Susanele. Let me just ask you, I would like for you to follow me, and there is a subscription button below the video. I would love for you to just push subscription so that you can be in the loop when I produce new videos and more levels of wisdom that will come with what I just mentioned to you. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to use YouTube because YouTube is a global platform. My goal is that in whatever I am allowed to share into the future, I'm hoping that I can add a little bit of humanity in the solutions and the pursuit of having accomplished things. So anyway, this is Susanele Au, and if you find value in this video, Please subscribe to my video and like and share with your friends. Thank you very much. God bless. Bye bye for now.